Thank you for keeping us company. And if you just tuned in, this is Y254 Discussion Monday, where tonight we are focusing on the Office of the Inspector General of Police. And we remember just last week we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta appoint Hilary Mutyambai to the Office of Inspector of General of Police. And now we want to see what will this man be doing once in office. With me in studio is Anaklet Don and Ngunjiri KARIUKI. Both are political analysts. We will be having quite some discussion tonight. And just to bring to your attention or to your knowledge, the Office of the IG is established under Article 254 of the Kenya's Constitution and Section 8 of the National Police Act number 11 of 2011. And constitutionally, the IG holds the overall and independent command of the entire National Police Service. And now my first question, gentlemen, is: do you support the appointment of Hilary Mutyambai to the Office of the IG? KARIUKI.
Hilary, thank you, and good evening to the viewers. Of course, the appointment of, let me begin by first congratulating the former Inspector General, J. Boynet. And the Inspector General has served his statutory roles and leadership roles to the best of his ability. Right. And I think as a nation, we have been able to see changes in the wake of what has been happening in the country. We have had so many terror threats. Right. We have also had the reforms in the National Police Service,
which we'll be looking at actually.
Yes. Then let me anchor also the unveiling of Mr. Hilary Mutyambai as of advantage to Kenyans, because he brings a lot of expertise in areas of anti-terrorism, as well as what is called security management and operational management, which I've been able to see he acquired in the United Kingdom. So that one tells you that he is fit for the job. So
all right.
I would precisely affirm the President's choice. And as you can see, it seems that the President has a lot of confidence in people from the National Intelligence Service. Right. Of course, citing examples like the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, the EACC CEO, Mr. Twalib Mubarak. So that one gives you an idea that the President has a lot of faith in the National Intelligence Service.
All right.
So I support.
All right. Don't you support?
Well,
briefly.
Yes. To begin with, I think I'd want to first start by congratulating Hilary himself before I even talk about the former IG. I really think that Hilary brings a lot of experience, expertise in the, I just said, position. But again, I'm also taking the opportunity to really wish well the outgoing IG, Mr. Boynet, also congratulating him for his current appointment. But I really think that President Kenyatta, the appointment of Hilary by the President could not have come at a better time. Right. We know that the nation just came over this January from the Dusich attacks, and actually we really the nation is still shaky in terms of the information with terror and whatever. So I really think that, yeah, the President has really taken a very firm.
All right. So the objectives of the National Police Service, one of them is to strive for the highest standards of professionalism among its members. Now, would you say for the last 4 years when we had Joseph Boynet, the outgoing, would you say the police forces have displayed the professionalism in them?
I'd say yes, but with a pinch of salt. Well, we have seen a lot of action from the police. To begin with the positives, we've seen the actions even when we had terrorism activities in 2013. Just this year, it's still fresh in our minds.
Right.
The police took an active stage. They really did a good amount of work. But actually, I would also wish to caution my thoughts on the same. Going by a lot of complaints on police brutality, harassment of the general public, and the runaway corruption, especially when it comes to traffic police. I'd really think that if I was to rate, I'd say Mr. Boynet's work is at 40%.
All right, Ngujiri,
Yes.
what would you say about the office of the IG for the last 4 years in terms of professionalism and discipline among the members of the forces?
To begin with, Hilary, let me start from where we began and the establishment of the National Police Service. You remember that under the new constitution, the past IG was Mr. David Kimayu, who later resigned. And to answer your question, while we hail and acknowledge and appreciate the efforts that have been made by the Inspector General of Police, former, we cannot ignore the challenges that have been there in the police service. Yes, the Inspector General of Police has been able to trickle his authority down and trying to compel discipline among the police force. And I hope now it is going to change to a police service as it has always been dreamt.
Right.
But again, this is not to mean that the National Police Service has not had its own challenges. You
Right.
have had cases of the police service being accused of extrajudicial killings. You have had cases of the police service being accused of corruption. So we acknowledge that yes, the IG has been able to move the National Police Service from where it was formerly when IG Kimayu resigned. I agree
Right.
that to move forward and now with the incoming
Right.
of Mr. Hilary Mutiabai, he'll be able to take over. And as we said, issues of community policing, issues of border patrol, issues of administrative functions, and etc. etc.
All right. Now, another objective of the police, National Police Service, that is to prevent corruption and promote and practice transparency and accountability.
Yes.
We have had issues and stories of how police, especially the traffic and even the crime unit, where you talk to Kidogo Mawende station and the other one is Utalala Ndani. These things have continued. Now, do you think the incoming IG will make sure there will not be such cases, and if there is, because things will not change overnight, there has to be some transition. Now, do you think the incoming will be able to trim down this thing?
Yes, I think I'd really want to take a key note when Mr. Hilary presents himself before the Parliament's approval committee.
All right.
I really wish to listen to how he'd want to tackle, especially the issue of discipline when it comes to corruption by the forces themselves. It's going to be a challenge. We have to admit that.
True.
It's going to be a very huge challenge for Mr. Hilary to do this. But I also still believe that if we can instill integrity once we do the recruitments, during the trainings, and I'm still very confident in Mr. Hilary's ability, going by the work he has done as the Deputy Director of the Counterterrorism Unit, going by the numerous trainings the guy has. I really trust that he is able. His ability in dealing with the forces cannot be matched.
Right.
But again, we need to admit the fact that when it comes to matters to do with corruption, matters to do with self-integrity, this trickles down to an individual and generally not the forces as per se. So I really believe that we need to instill this discipline starting from when we recruit the forces. We need to tell them what to do. And again, we need to speed up prosecution and civil administration of cases that we have in court pending, especially when it comes to administrative police.
All right, we will look at the police reforms, but before then, Ngunjiri, another objective of the National Police Service is to train their staff to the highest possible standards of competence and integrity, and most of all, respect to human rights and fundamental freedoms. We have seen how our police behaved during the election, that is 2017, and even before then, we have seen how they behave with the public during demonstrations, and we're talking about the police brutality. We have had cases of murder, abduction and murder, which you actually mentioned earlier as we began our discussion tonight. And then we have had cases when they go to court, we hear there was no evidence. So we are wondering what is happening to our DCI unit. Why would they prosecute someone if they don't have enough evidence? So would you say the police or the office of the IG, the incoming IG, will ensure the integrity and the competence that has been laid will be seen to the letter?
Well, one of the efforts that has been made by the outgoing IG, Mr. J. Boynet, is to restructure the training and educational, let me call it educational in this context, the training architecture of the police. Remember, he has tried to reform that, and as you alluded, competence is of importance, even with the rise of new laws in the country. So the police must cease to be looked at as a liability to mwananchi, and that one brings to the fore the issues of the police being trained to be pro-friendly to the general public. Mr. Mutiabai, the already appointed IG, has a lot of tasks to do.
Right.
In fact, as he takes over from Boynet, one of the issues that I expect him to make sure is implemented is the issue of community policing, a situation whereby a citizen will be comfortable to share information with the police, and even the issue of taking police to estates is also of great importance, because that is where now we start conversing between citizens and the police. So I believe Mr. Hilary Mutiabai, having gotten a lot of training from Israel and the United Kingdom in operational and security management, as well as anti-terrorism education, I believe that he will bring his knowledge, and he'll be able to coordinate all this.
All right.
Yeah.
Just to complement this, we don't really need to forget that there are the structural and organizational reforms that were announced by President Kenyatta just last year.
True, true.
So as Hillary gets into office, he really needs to start by implementing the structural and organizational reforms. We just saw the abolitions of the OCPD, the OCS from the stations. We had, I think, the AP is merged with the police system. So I really think that before we even magnify the task of the job that he has at hand, we need to start by looking at the structural reforms, even before we go deep into the integrity issues with the police. I really think that the reforms that are coming in are really coming in at the very right time, especially for the police force.
When it comes to police brutality, do you think the IPOA and the office of the IG for the last maybe 4 years, do you think they have been working in a good relation? Because we've seen police being protected and also the public being said you were on the wrong.
Yeah, let's be honest, because this is an honest conversation. While we have seen efforts, even from IPOA, to make independent investigations, sometimes, and this is of human nature, we see people trying to protect their own. I will not underwrite the fact that the police service, the National Police Service, has at times claimed that the police are never involved in what they are accused of. Yes, they deny and deny and deny. So we have seen efforts, yes. But again, let us be honest. The IPOA has, and you know, the police has all the mechanisms to either hide evidence or be open.
Right.
So IPOA has tried to do their job, but we have had some cover-up in the police service without even mentioning cases. So we must have an honest we must have an honest conversation and agree that human beings sometimes tend to be dishonest, and this is they are not justified to do so.
But they do it.
But they do it.
All right, let's finalize with the police reforms that were mentioned towards the last days of last year. And now for the last 4 years, the National Police Service has been on trajectory reforms and has undergone tremendous changes aimed at improving service delivery to Kenyans. And one of them was equipping the police unit with vehicles and equipment that they need to ensure they deal with the modern crimes. The other thing was about them now, the health insurance, we had the housing allowances, commuter allowances, among others. Now, these goodies that have been brought to the police unit or the service, do you think it's one of the things that will make our police now be reformed and ensure, assuming if they are getting 50,000 and you go with a package of 20 trying to corrupt them, they will be honest enough and say, no, you are in the wrong and I'm booking you. Do you think we will have a unit that will be so sure that no corruption will take place because I have money, I'm being paid well by my government? Should I be corrupt?
To begin with, I'll still go back to the original statement I began this discussion with. I really think that when it comes to integrity, corruption matters. These are normally based on somebody's psychology, what the level of discipline within which you want to treat as a human being. Secondly, I'd wish to say that with the reforms that both the structure and the organizational reforms that are coming up with the police service soon, if well implemented, they'll bring one thing: they'll boost the morale of the officers. These guys undergo a lot of issues out here, even before we come back to what happens with them within the trainings. They get a lot of issues, and normally every human being needs to be motivated. So I think that when it comes to the welfare of the police, it would be great that their welfare is well taken care of.
All right.
Yeah. So the reforms are good, and I think they'll at least add some value in service.
Nigerians, you respond to that because it is said they will be coming to stay with us in our estates. It's a proposal. How do you feel living with a police officer next door?
Yeah, of course, I would be very comfortable because I know that I'm secure in my area of residence. But again, let's tackle it from the perspective that they are going to be facilitated. And you know, in the estates, the kind of livelihood that is there would not allow them to live to the standards of a human being, comparing their salaries to the demands of making a livelihood that is indeed human.
Are you saying they are paid poorly?
Yeah, right now, sure.
Yeah, of course.
Right now, they're paid poorly.
Yeah, the police.
And that has really brought the corruption we see on the roads.
Yeah. And again, I would wish that the incoming Inspector General of Police, Mr. Hillary, would start a conversation and ignite a renewed effort to make sure that they bargain with the SRC, because this is where the problem is. If a policeman is getting 20,000, for example, or 30,000, that is just a constable. Let them be given house allowances.
Right.
That can be able, and you remember these people also have families. So I tend to imagine those ones that will come and live in towns,
Right.
the kind of livelihood that they are subjected to. Community policing will be of great importance, and I would actually support it, because that one will bring the issue of cohesion
Right.
between Kenyans and the police, and this one now will bring the issue of citizens being comfortable
Right.
to share any information that is of threat to the national security. So I think that it is a good thing, and the police ought to be motivated in a very nice way, because they are they are the ones who protect us.
True, true,
Yes.
true. They should. I would have loved us to continue the conversation, but unfortunately we are out of time. Many thanks for coming, gentlemen, and sharing your opinion. Coming up next is Why Mashariki, and you want to stay tuned and know who will be their host tonight. They have been my guest, Donna Naklet and KARIUKI Ngunjiri. I will be seeing you on Sports of Friday, so keep it Y254. My name is Dereva Hillary. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.